I've had to sit here today just because I have not bought a ring light still and I need to face the sun, so we're sitting here today and I hope that's not a problem. Shouldn't be a problem. And welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel, depending on what you're doing. If you've seen my face before, I wonder if you have, I wonder if you haven't. Let me know down below, that'll be interesting. I just want to say hello, I've missed you guys. I did take an impromptu break last week. I didn't even realise I was taking it, but I just did. Some things have knocked my confidence a bit with making videos, but the best way to, you know, face your fears is to get back on that fucking horse. So what am I doing today? I'm on the horse. Today we are going to be talking about dealing with relapse. Now this is a very sensitive topic, but it's something that I know a lot of people have to deal with on a daily basis. I think when you're in recovery it's not inevitable, because it's not always the case, but there are times where you have lapses in your recovery and you have to get back on that fucking horse. We're going to be talking about the horses today. We're going to be talking about the horses. But there are times where things do not go the way that they should be going, the way that you want them to be going, the way that will make your life better. And so being able to cope with relapse is very important, and I am just going to talk you through some of the tips today that I found that have helped me. I'm not a licensed therapist or mental health professional. I'm just a girl who's been through mental health problems and want to share the tips that have helped me online. So yeah, here we go. I think the first thing to remember when you're dealing with relapse is to stop being so bloody hard on yourself. I think it's so common to be like, I've relapsed, therefore I'm a bad person, I don't deserve to recover, I don't deserve nice things, you know, I feel so guilty for doing this. And you just gotta accept the fact that it's happened and the fact that we're gonna move on from it. But you gotta stop being so hard on yourself, because otherwise you're literally not gonna get through the situation at all. And when I'm talking about accepting the situation, I'm not saying that we're gonna pretend that it didn't happen, because that is completely not a good way to go about things. Instead, like I've talked about in videos prior, which I'll leave up in the iCard, I think it's this side, I might be completely wrong, but where I spoke about radical acceptance, it's very important to realise that just because you're accepting something doesn't mean that you're pretending that it didn't happen. So we're actually very much acknowledging the fact that it's happened and trying to make a change from that. Like I said, one of my favourite quotes is, you can't change if you don't change anything. What did I say? I can't even remember it. That's the quote. Change nothing and nothing changes. I think when we're talking about relapse, that's really important to remember, is that if you don't change your behaviours, then things aren't going to change in your life. So with all that being said, just for a little starter, I've wrote down 4 little tips that I think four little tips that I think have really helped me when I was coping with my recent relapse. I relapsed very hard through the months of September to January, and then after being hospitalised, or during being hospitalised, I made the conscious effort to realise that I did not want to be this person that is in and out of hospital. I did not want to be this person that relies on other people in order to make myself happy. I want to be the independent one. I want to be the one that makes changes in my life, and I wanted to prove to everyone around me that I was able to do it. And I think that was this is my first tip. You have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to make differences in your life in order to make progress in your life. But when it came to willingness, you've got to realise that you've survived this crisis. It can be as big or as small as you like, but either way, you've survived it and you've got through it. You've survived it, and that's really important to remember. By accepting what's happened and being willing to change, you're going to decrease your suffering and not be trapped anymore in this vicious cycle of decline. I've got another quote for you, but it's, no matter how far you've gone in the wrong direction, you can always turn around. And that really sticks with me, because it doesn't matter how deep into your relapse you are. You could have just relapsed once, you could be relapsing for months, but either way it doesn't matter, because you can turn around at any point because you are in control. That is one thing I want to get very clear in this video, is that nothing in your life is going to change unless you change it yourself. You have to be the person to make that change, and it's hard and it's not easy and it's difficult. It is difficult. You're scared, you don't want to make change, you feel safe in your suffering because that's all you've known for so long. But do you want to stay in that suffering? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Do you want to remain the person that you are, or do you want to be a better person and recover harder and really throw yourself into recovery? That is the goal of this whole concept. Talking about goals, that's my second thing. I made very small goals whilst I was in hospital that I could incorporate into my daily routine. I would make sure that every single day I walked 10,000 steps, just so I was up and active and moving. This was whilst I was in hospital. I would do mindfulness every day. I would make sure I read every day. What else did I do? I've got it in my little book. Oh, ow, 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 ow. Oh, just banged my elbow. Yeah, see, I would, every single day, I would write down what I was grateful for as well, and I would try and bless someone in my life, because that's something that's very important to me, is gratitude. I think if you're grateful, you can't be sad. No matter how dark the situation is, there is always something you can be grateful for. A lot of mine were that I was grateful for the people around me, I was grateful that I was still alive, I was grateful that the sun was shining. That was my first thing. Every single day I'd walk outside and I'd say, I'm grateful for the sun, I'm grateful to be able to walk, and I'm grateful to be able to breathe this air in. Like literally tiny things like that, but it made me feel happy. It made me have this sense of warmth inside me, because I felt there is hope in this world. Not everything in this world is so dark, and you've really got to switch up your mind, because it's so easy to just fall into this negative thinking pattern where everything's negative and you hate everything. Because I've been there before, and I really did hate everyone for a period of time, but did it get me anywhere? Nope. It did not. You have to be willing to make a change in your life and change the way you're thinking, and not even make things positive, but make things neutral. Gratitude is a massive thing in recovery, so if you want me to do a whole video on gratitude and how it's helped me, then give this video a like, or let me know down below, because I think that would be a really good video topic if I could manage to make it that way. My third tip is create a routine. Now, this might seem really odd, but for me personally, I found that having a routine gave me some comfort in recovery. It was something that I was very able to do. I was not forcing myself to, you know, go and run a marathon or like do stupid shit like that, doing stupid shit that I was not able to do. It was things that I would do every single day. So every single day I'd get up, I'd have a shower. This is at the very start, by the way. Like, now I don't have these things in my routine, these are just normal for me, but at the time they were not normal, so therefore I had to create the routine. In the very early stages, I'd make sure that every day I got up, I had a shower, I would, you know, put clothes on that I wanted to put on, and I would walk outside. That was like my routine of every single day. I would make sure that I did that before 12 o'clock, because otherwise my day would not be started and I would get nowhere and I would just lie in bed all day. So I made sure that I made that difference. If we're talking on a different scale, if we're talking on like maybe a self-harm scale of relapsing and self-harm, I made the promise to myself that if I ever self-harm, I have to tell someone now. And I know that might seem very strange, but self-harm for me was very secretive, very secretive. And it was something that I kept to myself. I never told anyone for like a long period of time. So now I've made the conscious effort that if I have relapse and self-harm, I have to tell at least one person that can help me, because keeping it a secret gets me nowhere. And if I keep it a secret, I then turn into this thing where I'm like, oh, I've done it once, it doesn't really matter if I do it again, does it? Because I've already broken my streak. things like that. You've got to be willing to make these promises to yourself that you're going to tell someone if something goes wrong, because otherwise you're not going to get anywhere. The fourth thing leads on from that, what I've just said, and it's communication. It's making sure that you are communicating with the people around you how you're feeling and what's going on in your mind. I found that people around me noticed that I was in a relapse before I even noticed I was in a relapse. So you have to believe the people around you, because most of the time they want what's best for you. And if they're noticing changes in your behaviour, listen to them, because it's going to help you out a lot more than if you just ignore them. It's all about being willing to make a change in your life, and that's the way that you're going to cope with relapse. And that's the way I managed to cope with relapse. I had to be so willing every single day. It was hard. It was not like I wanted to do this. There were days where I was just like, you know what, I just want to throw the towel in and say fuck it, I don't want to do this anymore. But I didn't. I made sure that every single day I made the conscious effort to recover, and that's what you have to do. And when we talk about things like self-care and routine, I'm not talking about like consumer-based self-care, which are like bath bombs and face masks. I'm talking about every single day things that you need to incorporate into your life, so that what happens is you start off with small things like getting up, having a shower, eating breakfast, whatever, and then eventually they become part of your everyday routine anyway, so then you can build on that. We used to do this in DBT and it was called Build Mastery, and I really clicked with that one. I thought it was very smart, because if you think about it, if you're having to indulge in these self-care routines too often, it shows that you're actually very disconnected from the reality of your situations. You don't want to have to escape your reality every single time you have a bath, or you know, have a self-care night. Instead it's like, I want to have everyday things that are gonna look after me, because looking after yourself is a way to cope with relapse. You have to fight what your head is telling you. You have to do the opposite of it, and you have to realise that you don't want to live this way anymore. It's not a game, it's not fun, it's nothing to be proud of. It's something that we have to fight against in order to live a life that we want to live. So after that little rant, I am gonna answer some of your Qs that I asked for on my Instagram. So if you don't follow my Instagram, you should. That's where I interact with you guys the most. So I'm just gonna answer some of the questions that have been asked. There are police in every single one of my videos. I swear to God. Finished. Okay, thank you. Most of the questions are how to deal with the guilt of relapsing, and I totally understand that. I'm gonna leave my video about coping with guilt in the iCard, and I'll also link it down below so you can go and watch that. But if you just want like a little short bit, I think dealing with guilt is all about accepting the fact that it's happened and mentally being prepared to change your ways so it doesn't carry on anymore. Dealing with guilt is very difficult, and I think having a great support network around you can help. Talking about your guilt, like not just bottling it up, talking to anyone. You can call the Samaritans, you can talk to family, you can talk to your doctor, anyone like that, and just say how the guilt is, you know, consuming, because it can be all consuming, and that's when it's so difficult. I think also just give yourself time. Time heals, and especially when it comes to things like guilt, it's really important to recognise that with time you will not feel guilty anymore. And like I said at the very start, just don't be so hard on yourself, don't be so critical and so damaging of yourself. Yes, you've relapsed. Okay, what are we going to do from now on? That's what we've got to switch our minds to. Instead of wallowing in the fact that we've relapsed, we have to think, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do to change this, because I don't want to be this way? Someone asked how to see it as not a big setback. I think this is a really good question, because that's a really massive thing that I had to deal with as well. And I'm sure so many people have too, is after a relapse you think, oh, I've wasted all that time being in a relapse, what am I gonna, like, how am I gonna accept the fact that it's happened and that I did lose time, and how to realise that it's not the end of the world. I think for me it was about creating a routine which I felt capable in, and I know that sounds weird to deal with this question, but for example, like when I got discharged from hospital, I got discharged on the Thursday and I went back to work on the Tuesday. Like, I didn't want to wallow anymore. I didn't want to just be in this bubble of self-loathing and self-pity, and it's not a bad thing because everyone has to give themselves time to heal, but it's important to remember that you can't stay in that situation for so long. Like, if you keep thinking about it, it's just going to consume you even more. But if you allow yourself to recognise that it's happened and start to create the life that you want to live, then it doesn't seem as such as a big setback, because you're rebuilding your life in a different way or in a healthier way, and which is actually just so much better to do and so much progress to make. There's been a few questions about how to be motivated to start the journey of recovery again after relapse, and I think I'm going to finish on this question actually, because I've been talking a lot about rebuilding your life, but in reality it takes a lot of motivation to be able to do that. I think it's little things that really motivated me to start recovery again. It was reading books, it was like reading self-help books, little things like going on Pinterest and seeing quotes, seeing my friends do amazing things, and instead of being jealous of them, thinking I could do that one day too. And I think it's about getting excited about the life that you can live. That life is out there, you just have to go and grab it. You have to grab it with both hands and be excited about the possible changes that you can make. It's not easy, but if you can find the motivation externally through things like books and things like little things like Pinterest and people around you, then I know for me, the first time I ever had to recover, I decided to recover for my parents' sake. And honestly, at the time I thought that was okay, but in reality you have to choose to recover for yourself. Because if you choose to recover for someone else, it's a very fickle, transient way of doing recovery, because eventually it stops working, essentially. But if you choose to recover for yourself, you're making the conscious effort every day to make changes in your life and be a better person. And not be a better person in terms of like you're a bad person for relapsing, but being a better, healthier version of yourself and the version of yourself that you want to be. I think that's really important, and I just think recognising how capable you are and being grateful for the things that you have is a great way to motivate yourself, because I was so grateful to be able to walk properly and eat things that I wanted to eat, and like I was excited about the future that I could have. And even now when I have down days, I make the conscious effort to switch my mind and think, what am I grateful for? Because being grateful for things makes you want to explore the world more, so you can find more things to give gratitude to, if that makes sense. So I think motivation is very hard, and you've got to understand that you're gonna have days where you're just not going to be able to do it, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be an everyday thing, but if you're thinking at least 5 days out of 7 you've had good days, that means you've had a good week. And it's important to let yourself have bad days, because everyone has bad days. It's not just people with mental illness that have bad days. Everyone does, and everyone has days where they feel shit, and everyone has days where they feel depressed. But knowing that it's not going to stay that way forever is so important. So that is this week's video. I really hope you enjoyed. If you have any more questions about coping with relapse, then comment them down below, or Ask me on Instagram if you'd like. I am gonna love you and leave you here. Please stay safe and I will see you in my next video. Bye!